Mushkan Levi, this year Pesach is going to be very different because we are not going to have a community Passover Seder.
Why?
Why? That's a very good question, Mushka. The reason we're not having a community Passover Seder, even though we would love to have one, is because we are not supposed to be getting together as a community. We're not supposed to be getting together as a community because we are supposed to be separate from each other for health reasons and safety. So we're not going to be having a community Seder. How do you guys feel about that?
Feels awkward.
It feels awkward. And for you, how does it feel?
Strange.
It feels strange, yes. And it's not only strange for both of you, but it's strange for many people that are watching this video now. It feels very strange for them.
And it's also very good news because I don't have to put so much plates on the table.
Oh, you feel you're not going to have to put as many plates on the table. So that's true. That's maybe a little bit easier.
What's going to happen about Bubby and Zadie?
What's going to happen with Bubby and Zadie? That's a very good question.
Are they going to be alone?
I wonder if they're going to be alone. Both of you, Mushka and Levi, you're asking such great questions. I want to tell you, I just got off the phone with Zadie, and I felt very bad because talking to Zadie and Bubby, my parents, I know that Pesach was always the highlight for them. They loved Pesach.
Wow.
And I remember, because it was a night when everyone got together, and I remember my Zadie used to lead the Seder, and for your Zadie, which is my father, this Pesach night was a highlight. We always had guests, we always had people at our Seder, and it was always a very special night. And I just got off the phone with Zadie and Bubby, and they said, this year we're going to be all alone. And I was also speaking to Mommy's parents, your other Bubby and Zadie, and I realized that they're going to be also Pesach Seder alone. And I never ever remember that on Pesach, our Zadies and Bubbies are going to be sitting all alone to Seder, no children, no grandchildren. And I was feeling really bad for them, and I felt down. And also for us, usually we have a community Seder, and also the second night of Pesach. What do we have the second night of Pesach?
A family Seder.
And do we have guests in our house?
Yes.
Yes. This year we're not going to be any guests in our house. It's just going to be us. So it's going to be very different. I started thinking, wow, this year Pesach is going to be very different. And then I started thinking about all the people in our community and all the people all over the world, that many people are going to be having Pesach Seder all alone. Some people don't have a wife or a husband.
Why?
Because they're living alone. And some people are not going to have their children there, and they're going to have Pesach Seder all alone. And you know what? A lot of people, they feel, then maybe we shouldn't have Pesach Seder this year, because really the Pesach Seder is all about the family. Pesach Seder is all about getting together with everyone else. And now I'm all alone. Maybe this year we shouldn't have a Pesach Seder, or maybe we should make it into a very minor event. A Pesach Seder with people all over the world, and everyone is sitting all alone. Some people could be themselves. Some people could be just them and their wife. Some people could be just them and their children, like we're going to have. But there's not going to be really families and communities getting together, and that's what's Pesach. Pesach is about all of us getting together. So maybe this year we shouldn't have Pesach. Maybe this year we should Passover Pesach. So while I was thinking this just now, I got an email, and that story I read by this email gave me the answer I was looking for. And hopefully it will give you the answer that you may be feeling right now. Oh my God, Pesach's coming in a week, and this is the last thing I'm really interested in. If anything, it's going to be a very depressing night. The story that was shared was by a close friend of mine, Rabbi Jacobson. He shares this story. It's a beautiful story, Mushkan Levi. The story is about our Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the story goes that Rabbi Jacobson, someone asked Rabbi Jacobson, could you share something personal about the Lubavitcher Rebbe? He says, I want to share something with you. And he says like this, he says, recently I was giving a lecture, and during the lecture, a woman raises her hand, and the woman asked the rabbi, I have a question for you. She says, Pesach last year, story goes back a few months ago. Pesach last year, I went through a messy divorce, and I was going to have my children come to me for the Seder. And I worked very, very hard to prepare for the Seder. I worked very hard to have the good food that I know my children are going to come to me. They're going to be with me for the Seder. I told all my friends, I'm so excited. The kids are coming to me for the Seder. And the last moment, the kids couldn't come to me for the Seder. And I felt devastated. First of all, I was embarrassed. Here I went and told my friends and my family, my kids are coming. And now I'm going to be sitting Pesach all alone. No one is going to be there with me for the Pesach Seder. And I did the Seder by myself, but I was crying the whole Seder. I did it like in 25 minutes, and I went to sleep. And now I'm asking you, Rabbi, how does God look at my Seder that I did all alone, no one there, just me and the Seder plate and the Agada? How was it? So Rabbi Jacobson says, sometimes someone asks you a question and that God throws an answer to you that you never thought of before. So Rabbi Jacobson said, I want to share with you something. He says, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who, Mushka and Levi, the reason why we live here is because the Rebbe sent us here as his representatives in this community, as his shluchim. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe, although he had thousands of followers, do you know that every Friday night, the Rebbe would eat alone with the Rebbetzin, with his wife. No guests, no attendance. Although the rest of the week he was with thousands of people, he was just alone on Shabbos. The year the Rebbetzin passed away, his wife passed away in 1988, was 2 months before Pesach. So now, usually the Seder the Rebbe would do with his wife, the Rebbetzin. So this year Pesach, the Rebbe was all alone. So right after Ma'ariv, before the Seder, a young boy, his name is Ari Halberstamm, who a few years later was murdered by an Arab terrorist on the Brooklyn Bridge, and the name is on the ramp on the bridge. Ari Halberstamm goes over to the Rebbe after Ma'ariv, and he tells the Rebbe, come to my house for the Pesach Seder. He lives a few blocks from 770. The Rebbe said, thank you very, very much, but I'm going to make the Pesach Seder all alone. Thank you for inviting me. And that night, the Rebbe made the Seder all by himself in his office. And Rabbi Jacobson shares that we were all thinking, I remember those days also, I was thinking, I was a young teenager then in New York, how sad it is that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is making a Pesach Seder all by himself. There's no one else by the Seder. Now just think about it. The Rebbe was the one that inspired his followers to go all over the world to make public community Seders. The reason why we have community Seders is the Rebbe always taught us we have to go out and open up the doors and invite every Jew, no matter where they may be, to be involved in our Seder. There's thousands of people all over the world at the Seder, where the Chabad rabbis are there because the Rebbe told them that they should make a Seder. And now, thousands of people at community Seders, the Rebbe is sitting all alone. I remember in 1989, I made a Seder in Italy, in Rome, for the Jews that were leaving Russia. So we went out there, and the Rebbe said, make sure you make a Seder both nights for them. And we had like 400 or 500 people having the Seder. And we're thinking, how sad it is the Rebbe is sitting all alone. If the Rebbe wanted, he could have had 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. But he wanted to do it all alone. Although he was inspiring thousands of people all over the world. They have a Seder in India for 5,000 people there at the Seder. So Rabbi Jacobson shared something so beautiful. He said it's possible that why the Rebbe did the Seder all by himself was there to teach everyone who is making a Seder by themselves that you shouldn't feel that your Seder is inadequate, is not special. And maybe the message was especially for us in today's days. This year Pesach, since I think we left Egypt, there's never been a time that most people will be doing a Seder by themselves. Usually it's everyone together. So the Rebbe had that Seder, and that was very special. So Rabbi Jacobson told this lady this story, and he told the lady who had a Seder all by himself, if a Seder alone was good for the Rebbe, definitely a Seder alone is good for you too. So this year, when we are making our own Seders, and for many of us, you'll literally be alone, or you may have one other person, or you may have a few children with you, don't think for one moment that your Seder is inadequate. Think about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Holy Rebbe, the leader of the Jewish generation. He made his Seder alone. I am sure his Seder was a very, very special Seder, and he inspired us that if you're in a circumstance that you have to make a Seder alone, which is like this year, don't think for one moment that this Seder is any less valuable for God or something that's less special. So everyone, we have another week to Pesach. Don't look at it like, oy vey, Pesach is coming. We say this year the Pesach may be even more meaningful than we had every other year. I am sure everyone around the table this year, Pesach, will be having the same conversations. We'll all talk about how do we get out of this Egypt that we have this year. Everyone is going to be inspired this year. All our hearts are going to be connected and united. So if for some reason you have to be alone, because that's what you need to be, remember you have a very special Seder. We need you to have this Seder to be very, very special. You hear this, Mushka and Levi? So this year it's going to be a special Seder for Bubby and Zaidi, for us, and people all over the world. Get ready for Pesach. Let's make it the most meaningful Pesach we have. Happy Passover.